Well, AOC, and let me know if you believe this, is saying that MAGA Republicans are coming up to her and say, man, I was wrong about Trump. I'm with socialism now. Do you buy that?
Absolutely not. In fact, I'd like to see some of the people who actually said that to AOC and check their ballots and see if they actually voted for President Trump, because I can assure you MAGA Republicans oppose everything that AOC and the modern day Communist Democrat Party stands for. Mass migration and open borders like we saw under the Biden administration.
AOC is now claiming there is a surge of MAGA voters who regret supporting Trump, walking away from him and preparing to line up behind Democrats fully loyal to the DNC heading into 2028.
Men and women's sports is something MAGA Republicans and frankly the whole country rejects. It's a 90-10 issue. Taxing people to death and taking their money and giving the majority of your income back to the government, that's a horrible idea that has not worked for thousands of years.
Karoline Leavitt shuts that down immediately. She says AOC is completely wrong and delivers one of the strongest clapbacks seen anywhere this year.
I fully welcome Trump voters into our coalition. And I know that sounds crazy to some people, but just hear me out. I cannot tell you, it just happened to me like 2 weeks ago. I can't tell you how many times someone has pulled me aside and said either I was once a big Trump voter and a Trump supporter, but then I started to kind of expand my world and where I got information, and now I've learned and now I've changed and I'm with you.
That was AOC's stance when she took to social media. According to her, many Trump voters support him for one basic reason. They sit in front of Fox News nonstop, absorb talking points, and never think for themselves. In her version of events, it has nothing to do with financial stress under Biden, rising grocery prices, painful gas costs, or rent becoming flat out unaffordable. Not that at all. She also brushes aside the idea that voters moved toward Trump because of the flood of woke policies coming out of the Biden administration. Policies many Americans see as detached from everyday reality. For AOC, it all comes down to media-driven brainwashing, plain and simple. But that smug explanation did not go unchallenged. Karoline Leavitt heard AOC's comments and was not about to let them slide. What followed was a sharp response that flipped AOC's narrative on its head and exposed the arrogance underneath it.
President just dealt with Chuck Schumer, and President Trump and Republicans shellacked Chuck Schumer and the entire Democrat Party. After 43 days of Chuck standing out there trying to bravely hold the country hostage and inflict massive pain on the American public, Chuck got absolutely nothing, and now the knives are out for him. As you can see, Jesse, as you just perfectly laid out in your monologue, the Democrat Party is in complete disarray, and the truth is, they have been for 10 years since President Trump came on the political scene.
And that point is difficult to argue against. The DNC has appeared unstable ever since Trump announced he would run for president again. From that moment, it became one frantic move after another, with confusion replacing clear direction. It helps explain the constant accusations thrown at him, followed by flashy investigations and courtroom drama promising bombshells but delivering very little. It explains the Russia collusion storyline that dominated headlines for years, a tale many Republicans say never lived up to what Democrats promised. It also explains the steady stream of insults and dismissive labels, as if mockery could replace a real argument. Yet through all of it, the scandals, the trials, the media storms, nothing ever sticks. Again and again, the attacks fail to break Trump's base or slow his momentum. If anything, they seem to harden his support and reveal just how rattled his critics truly are.
They don't stand for anything good. They just stand for Donald Trump is bad. That's the only thing that unifies their party. And now you see how far they are moving to the left. They ran Senator Gillibrand and Senator Manchin out of town. Now they're running Chucky Schumer out of town. It's too bad he turned into a Palestinian. He did it for nothing, like President Trump says, because his own party is turning against him. And the Democrat Party is truly becoming a full-blown communist party.
Karoline Leavitt goes directly after Democratic Party leadership, accusing them of losing control control of their own base. She argues the party has moved so far left that even longtime figures like Chuck Schumer now appear out of sync with the activists they once led. In her view, the most extreme factions are now calling the shots, instead of leaders setting priorities. The loudest and most radical voices online and in the streets dictate the agenda. Leavitt says Democratic officials are being pushed aside in real time because they are deemed not woke enough by their own supporters. One poorly worded statement, one hint of moderation, and they are instantly branded sellouts or traitors. To her, this infighting shows a party turning on itself, obsessed with purity tests instead of governing. And as Democrats attack each other, Leavitt says voters are watching closely, with many quietly pulling away from a party that no longer seems sure what it represents.
Men in women's sports is something MAGA Republicans and frankly the whole country rejects. It's a 90-10 issue, taxing people to death and taking their money and giving the majority of your income back to the government. That's a horrible idea that has not worked for thousands of years. MAGA Republicans know it, and that's why they overwhelmingly voted to re-elect President Trump.
Karoline steps in with precision, completely dismantling AOC's claim that MAGA voters secretly regret supporting Donald Trump. She does not just dismiss it. She demands proof, actual names, real numbers, solid evidence, and according to her, none of it exists. Instead of relying on vague stories or social media fantasies, Karoline explains exactly why millions of Americans backed Trump in the first place. It was not accidental. It was a reaction, a pushback against aggressive woke agendas pushed by the DNC that left everyday voters angry and confused. Many Americans rejected men competing in women's sports, questioned medical transitions for minors, and remain uneasy with the party drifting toward open socialism. Karoline makes it clear, ignoring those concerns will not erase them. It only drives more voters away. And if Democrats stay on that course, she warns, the consequences could be severe.
MAGA Republicans know it, and that's why they overwhelmingly voted to re-elect President Trump. And a Democrat that you had in your monologue actually was right about one thing. I don't know his name, but I give him credit for his statement where he said that the Republican Party under President Trump is the party of the working man and woman. And because of President Trump's pro-growth, America First policies, he has spoken directly to the hearts of the forgotten men and women across this country. And that's who the Republican Party is today, thanks to him.
Yes, Leavitt hits the mark. And this is the truth Democrats still refuse to face. Trump did not win by chasing Twitter approval or elite praise. He spoke directly to middle America to swing voters to people who felt ignored, talked down to, and squeezed from every direction. He tapped into working class frustration, fears about jobs, prices, safety, and stability using language people actually understood. Meanwhile, KLA Harris and the DNC focused almost entirely on coastal elites, corporate donors, and the loudest woke corners of the internet. Instead of addressing kitchen table issues, voters were met with lectures, labels, and moral posturing. That disconnect mattered. When regular Americans felt dismissed or mocked, Trump made them feel seen and heard, even if they did not agree with him on everything. In the end, elections are not won through virtue signaling or polished messaging. They are won by connecting with real people living real lives. That connection is where Trump succeeded and where the DNC fell short.
Well, we'll have to see, and I'm very curious. I'll have to find out from our great Attorney General Pam Bondi if the Trump DOJ is continuing this investigation that the Biden DOJ launched. Jesse, it's a good question, and we will get on that. But as for Gavin Newsom, I was not surprised to see him in Brazil, traveling the world, probably on the taxpayer dime, talking about climate change when his state, California, has some of the highest energy costs in the entire country.
Karoline Leavitt also turns her criticism toward Gavin Newsom, targeting what she calls pure political hypocrisy. She blasts Newsom for constantly lecturing about saving the planet while presiding over one of the most expensive energy systems in the country. Leavitt argues it is easy to preach climate ideals from a podium, while ordinary families struggle under sky-high electricity and gas bills just to keep their homes running. She says Newsom's green agenda may sound noble on paper but collapses in real life, especially for working-class Californians who cannot afford solar panels, electric vehicles, or luxury alternatives. Rather than making life greener, she argues, these policies are making it more expensive and harder to survive. Leavitt frames it as a classic elite disconnect, politicians pushing feel-good environmental rhetoric while everyday people pay the price. In her view, Californians are not rejecting environmental responsibility, they are rejecting rejecting leaders who choose ideology over affordability and common sense.
They have some of the highest gasoline prices in the entire country, despite President Trump's efforts. And they are working to bring down oil and gas prices in this country, to drill, baby, drill, to unleash American energy dominance. Gavin has done so much damage to his state with the Green New scam and with this utopian pursuit of climate change that is just so false. It's built on a fallacy that he has run up energy costs in his state that people are fleeing his state.
Karoline is right, and the warning signs are impossible to miss. Families and businesses are leaving California in rising numbers, fed up with heavy taxes, endless regulations, and suffocating bureaucracy. For small business owners, every day feels like a battle. Permits, compliance costs, and massive tax bills stack up until the math no longer works. Meanwhile, Newsom, in Karoline's view, shows little concern. Instead of easing the pressure or reassessing policy, he doubles down, tightening the grip on businesses in pursuit of lofty goals and political image. The result is predictable. Companies move to states with lower taxes, fewer hurdles, and more welcoming business environments. Karoline calls it a straightforward leadership failure. Jobs disappear, communities weaken, and tax bases shrink. Yet California's leaders act endlessly surprised by outcomes anyone paying attention could predict. At some point, she argues, denial stops being leadership and starts looking like indifference.
So maybe he should leave Brazil and stop talking about this issue that is hurting his own people and get back to governing what was once a beautiful state of California that people are fleeing en masse because of his horrific energy and economic policies that have made the cost of living in California completely out of control.
Yeah, the climate scam's kind of like DEI. It's dead, and it's never coming back.
Yes, Karoline has essentially said what millions of Californians are already thinking. Gavin Newsom needs to stop chasing headlines and start addressing what truly matters to the people of his state. That means seriously confronting the crushing cost of living that forces families into impossible decisions every month. It means cutting back bloated bureaucracy that slows everything down, raises costs, and suffocates small businesses before they can grow. It also means expanding reliable energy production instead of pushing policies that make power more expensive and unstable. Above all, it means reducing the tax burden that keeps driving residents and employers out of California. Karoline's message is simple. Leadership is not about grand speeches or national positioning. It is about making life affordable and sustainable for regular people. Until Newsom refocuses on those basics, the exodus will continue and Californians will keep paying for political stubbornness. When you zoom out, the pattern is clear. Democrats like AOC and Gavin Newsom keep offering excuses, slogans, and narratives while voters demand real results. Karoline Leavitt cuts through the noise. People did not turn to Trump because of Fox News or misinformation. They did it because life became harder, more expensive, and less stable. The DNC's fixation on woke purity, tests, high taxes, and ideological battles has left working Americans behind. Instead of listening, party leaders double down, then act shocked when voters leave. Until Democrats confront why people are fed up, no amount of spin will stop the backlash already underway. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like